In the spirit of spooky month, I'll be attempting my scariest challenge yet on this channel. Can you beat Sonic Unleashed without leveling up at all? The rules are quite simple. See these stats? They must remain at base level for the entire challenge. I wasn't too worried about Sonic's end, only having speed and ring energy to level up, but I was scared of getting bent over and spanked by the Werehog stages due to the fact he primarily focuses on combat, which we cannot level up or get stronger. If only I knew what awaited me later in the game. Starting out in Windmill Isle Act 1, it's a tutorial stage, so there's nothing difficult or noteworthy to talk about. One thing I will say is that these enemies are more useless than a condom with air vents, as they drop XP, which we are forbidden to use. Regardless, we easily finish the level. It's time for the true test of skill. Homing attacking this old man. I miss. This stage also presents no problems for us. It's the first real level of the game, so we're not expected to be leveled up at all. Therefore, I just kind of focus on collecting the medals so I don't have to do any backtracking later on. This is George, guys. He's my friend. Let's go say hi. He's going through some problems right now. Continuing on with the level, my goofy little monkey brain decided that springs were for babies and I ran right past it. Luckily, I was able to live to tell the tale. Other than that, we easily clear the rest of the stage. Unfortunately, our happiness is more stripped away now than somebody eating the last box of Dino Nuggies, as we're now forced to play as this apple crumble Now that we're in the real trenches of this challenge, it's time to talk some strategy. Since we can't unlock more combos or get stronger, there are two things that are extremely important to us. First one is avoiding as many enemies as possible. Since enemies drop XP, they are completely useless, thus we want to steer clear of it if we're able to. However, when we inevitably have to start throwing hands over these creatures, one very crucial mechanic is our guard. If you guard immediately after an attack and follow up with another, the buffer window between animations is sped up drastically, allowing our DPS to become significantly better, which will become absolutely necessary when fighting against the Titan mini-bosses. Aside from all that, it's still the first night level, so we're not expected to be leveled up at all, making it not really pose that much of a challenge yet. With that knowledge in mind, I go collect the medals, fight the mini-boss, and finish the level. It only gets harder from here. Is what I would say if the next level wasn't the easiest mission of my life. At first I was a little nervous because these enemies looked like they wanted to shove their grubby little robot hands directly into my unprotected asshole, but Tails reassured me they wouldn't, so I commit mass genocide on all of them. Eggman shows up and tries to apologize for his misdeeds and claims he'll do better, but Sonic knows better by now, so we completely obliterate him instead. Alright, this is where we're gonna start seeing some impact on enemies gradually dwindle. I'm not that spooked yet because it's only the second level, but still. Despite that foreboding knowledge, I proceed to just run past every enemy I see. One very useful combo I take advantage of is the sweep attack. This is an AoE move that can spread out all enemies around me if they start swarming me, which is extremely useful in the upcoming levels. Look at this sad creature, bumbling along. Doesn't know that its one purpose is to be thrown into the abyss by me. A moment of silence for it. Just kidding, get fucked! After that, we beat up some more enemies, do a quick puzzle, and we reach the enemy gauntlet. Something that I started doing that was crucial for my success in this run was using my punches to send enemies flying, and then I would grab them and either swing them around or smack them like a ragdoll. This sets huge crowd control and does way more damage, so we'll be using that strategy frequently. After that, we easily finish the level. Alright, y'all, we're making great progress. Get out of the way, Grandma! Tails, I swear to God, if you show me this tutorial one more time, Tails, don't you do it, Tails, motherfucker, Tails! After all the intensity of the night levels, we finally have a moment of levity where we can just enjoy a smooth time through the day stages. I focus on collecting the medals, getting burnt to a crisp, and enjoy some smooth sailing. As I said before, the day stages are extremely easy to do without leveling up, as I do that already when I normally play the game. Regardless, we effortlessly complete the level. We finally meet up with Eggman for our first real boss fight, and he tells us this.
How'd you get here so quickly?
Oh, you know, I just kind of put one foot in front of the other. This boss is literally so easy. All I do is collect the medals, use the QSS glitch to get to him faster, and take him down with no problems. I don't think he's doing well, guys. Somebody go fetch him a Scoopy snack. However, we finally get the stomp power up and prepare to take on the next level. Once again, this is another day stage, so it presents no issues for... As I was saying, this level is extremely easy and we play through it normally. The only times it does get a little bit worrisome in the Sonic stages are the water sections. Since we can't upgrade our boost meter, we have to either be very vigilant with collecting rings or make sure we keep drifting. However, while we have a nice moment like this to relax, let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite Sonic game and why? And with that, we finished the level with no problems. But I guess the game forgot the loop because now it's about to bend me over and fuck me with 2 night stages in a row. Is there any advice you wish to give me, Professor Pickle? I'll come back later. As the difficulty of the game starts to increase, it is going to become imperative that I rely on my strategies that I talked about in the previous night stages. Crowd control is an absolute must, as otherwise these individual sections would take forever. After doing a quick puzzle and fighting more hordes of enemies, we finally make it to the first big mama of the challenge. Instead of doing the sensible thing and just grabbing the object and running for my life, I decide to inject myself with some testosterone and fight it. Because there are no more enemies to slap it with, I'm forced to do single target damage, which in my case is quite pitiful. To help that, I use my strategy of shield guarding after every few moves to speed up the process. Eventually, we manage to take it down. In the upcoming section, I run around like an idiot trying to find some medals as well as avoiding any combat I can. Guys, get this. You'll never believe this, okay? Okay, ready? Did you know that tender chickens are chicken tenders? After that wonderful piece of knowledge, we slaughter the next mini-boss, do some light platforming, move the clock back into place, and finish the level. After getting some advice from Professor Pickle, we head into our next area. Unfortunately, this grandma told me she lost her 24-karat gold Labubu. I told her I would find it right away. I went up to look for it, but this little shit was standing in my way. I tell him if he didn't move in the next 2 seconds, I would tickle his pepperonis, and he ran away screaming, allowing me to pass. This level is unique because it is the one night stage where almost every enemy encounter you're able to just skip them, making this the easiest night stage by far. And you best believe I threw on my Nikes and ran away like a coward. After slapping these enemies around, I make sure to shock the water to kill all the flower enemies on my way across the platforms. Normally the bees would give me a huge issue because they have a decent chunk of health and always move around, but luckily if you pick up one of the little enemies, you can swing them, knock the bee off balance, and then pick the bee up and smack it around until it dies. After that, we do some more platforming and soon we reach the end of the level. There's a huge enemy gauntlet here with a mini boss, however you don't have to fight them at all and you can just gun it for the lever, which is exactly what I do and finish the stage. Luckily, we finally find the grandma's 24-karat gold Labubu, but it's being guarded by this giant birdie, and you know what that means. In all seriousness, this boss was extremely easy. Just throw the water barrels at it and then smack its feet until it dies. After that, we're able to return the Labubu to the grandma. This challenge is actually going extremely well so far. I hope it continues going. God damn, that's a big ass sandwich. After grabbing the wall jump shoes, we make our way to the next and my most favorite level in Sonic history. In the midst of being overjoyed at getting to play this amazing level, I forgot about the medals, so I have to restart and go back to collect them. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot for me to discuss here. My lack of ring energy wasn't really an issue as rings are constantly being shoved inside me. However, I definitely am sorely missing the light dash as it was quite painful not being able to take this shortcut. Regardless, we easily grind down Big Ben, do some light platforming, and evade these robots before sadly coming to the end of the level. It's time to get the air boost! I'm so excited. I did want to talk to you, Brenda! Next up is Dragon Road. Again, this is another day stage, so there isn't too much trouble here. It's definitely nice to get a decent sized break between the night stages with something easy. We easily plow Professor Pickle. We easily plow these platforming sections and once again go on the water. Unfortunately, Sonic gets a little too excited and decides to go for a swim. After a quick run back, the rest of the level is extremely easy until coming up to the mini-boss. This is where the ring energy starts to become a little bit of an issue. I barely had enough gauge to hold off in between new ring trails. Luckily, I was able to make it through and finish the stage. After sharing my secret cucumber sandwich with Professor Pickle and shoving it right up his scholarly asshole, we regret our decision and decide to run away and face the boss of this area. Not really much to talk about here, it's a pretty standard running boss. However, I will say that in order to save my ring energy, I use the QSS glitch as a means of traversing to the boss. I save the actual boost meter for dealing damage to the boss, as I can get 3 hits at a time with it. Other than that, we easily defeat it. After somehow dodging all these enemies to flip these switches, we make it to the next night stage. I was starting to get a little bit worried as we are now at the halfway point of the challenge and reaching the later night levels. My lack of strength was starting to become more apparent, but luckily the usual strategy of crowd control is still working amazingly for me. Eventually what I started doing as well was if there was a cliff side, I would just throw the enemy off the stage and that would also work wonders. Unfortunately, with all the strategy and planning, I would never be able to account for my jelly bean brain getting the ooga boogas and greedily trying to get these medals, leading me to fall to my death. Oh shit, I forgot to get the extra life back there. Let me go grab that. In all my years of playing. I don't know how, but my Matrix Neo powers activated and I managed to completely skip fighting all the enemies and push the lever and get both the medal and to the next section. And that's how a lot of this stage went, to be honest. Section after section of platforming, beat some enemies, do some more platforming, beat some more enemies, die, beat some more enemies. I was so annoyed at this section though because I threw this robot off the cliff, but it landed in the combat arena I was trying to avoid, so I was forced to go down there anyway, and I didn't even manage to get the medal on top, which is the whole point of going there. Afterwards, I slowly fight my way through the enemy gauntlet at the end of the stage and clear it with no further issues. Honestly, this boss gave me no issues, surprisingly. Sometimes I get frozen, and it does take a while to beat down on it and whittle its health bar, but I actually managed to do pretty well with it, and it gets taken down fairly easily. Returning to Spagonia, I go talk to Professor Pickle, but for some reason, he shares his deepest, darkest kinks with me, and I was so uncomfy that I threw on my Nikes and ran away as quickly as possible. I made it all the way to Shamar and thought this building would be a good place to hide, but no, Professor Pickle was here too. I don't know how he did it. I ran away again and decided to go to the next stage. This stage was actually extremely easy and had no challenge whatsoever regarding my ring energy. This is probably a hot take, but this stage is honestly one of my favorites in the game, right behind Rooftop Run and Windmill Isle Act 2. It just has such a nice flow to it once you learn the layout, and the shortcuts are so rewarding. Regardless, we collect our usual medals and easily beat the stage, and actually get the speeding ticket achievement, which is kind of crazy you can get that at base level. It's time to take our revenge. It's time to take on our biggest challenge yet. Empire City. This is where the enemy scaling really starts to take effect, and in order to combat this, I came up with the best solution there is. Running away like a coward and screaming like a little girl. Surprisingly, this works for a while, but unfortunately, if I want these medals, I'm forced to go the long way around and fight the enemy pack. Luckily, my strategy of slapping them around like a customer service line still works extremely well, and I make my way over to the mini-boss. This part had me shaking in my boots because I had no other enemies to slap it with, and my shield was absolutely pitiful in blocking attacks. One mess up, and he could send my ass flying off the edge. Luckily, it wasn't too much trouble and I was able to deal with it. Unfortunately, Sonic stubs his toe on the railing and decides to kill himself. Luckily for the rest of the stage, I'm able to just completely skip all the enemies and can proceed as normal until I get to the next mini-boss. I had a few close calls, but otherwise it was the same as before. Smack it silly until it dies and wrap up the stage. After all that, immediately after, it's time for another night stage. But honestly, this one might be a little bit easier than the last one. At first, I thought these fire wizards would be a big problem since we don't have that much health and do little to no damage normally, but it turns out my usual strategy of knocking them away and slapping them around seems to work pretty well. That is definitely the main thing I focused on with the stage. Crowd control was huge and made these beginning gauntlets so much more bearable. Once again, I decided to run for my life and skip all the combat and puzzles by performing a wall glitch with the Werehog first try. I wish I could have done that in my permadeath video. Once I make it to the enemy arena, I easily dispatch the wizards and I go to get a medal. Silly me for doing that because my reward is more enemies. However, I'm able to ignore all of them and go fight the mini-boss. This was easily the most challenging part of the run. There were so many wizards, and I couldn't just fight the boss because then the wizards would just Wingardium Leviosa their dicks into my asshole and decide to heal the Titan, negating any progress. My best strategy was to do crowd control and focus on Pierce with hitting multiple enemies at once while luring the Titan to me so it could do some friendly fire and smack the wizards for me as well. Amazingly, this actually worked pretty well, but I had to scavenge for health multiple times. I would have absolutely ate shit. Luckily, I managed to defeat the mini-boss and somehow finish the stage with an S rank. I swear to God, Sonic, this is the third time you've fallen off the stair. I swear, if you fall off one more, you son of a— At last, we are finally rewarded for our efforts in the night levels and are able to enjoy a day stage. Once again, the stage proves no challenge for me as I now have my full moveset and am used to playing through these stages at base level. It goes by rather quickly and I was so locked in that I didn't even notice my lack of ring energy. In fact, I was playing so well, I decided to take this massive shortcut and landed it easily, making my way to the end of the stage. Going into the final individual night stage, I was feeling pretty hopeful about this challenge being possible. As long as I stuck to my strategies, there's no way I'd lose. And so, that was the case. I ran past all the enemies in the beginning, but then I had to throw on my big boy pants and fight. Luckily, it was no challenge for me as I perfected my crowd control strategy by now. I do some more light platforming before reaching the mini-boss, and that had me dripping like a popsicle in Florida. My shield was absolutely pathetic, and there were no enemies to throw or smack it with, so I was forced to unleash my full button mashing tactic. This surprisingly worked as I would go in, mash, run away, rinse and repeat until it died. Once again, I do some more platforming, skip all the enemies somehow, and go fight the next mini-boss. I do the exact same thing I just did. Run in, mash, run away, over and over until it too dies, and I finish the level easily. After paying 50 rings to see Professor Pickle's pickle, we go fight the boss of the area. Even with the severe handicap to the Werehog, this boss is still a complete pushover. Just push the boxes to the other side of the map, smack the boss a few times, and it rolls over easily. If you die during this boss, I will actually find where you live and pour the milk first before your cereal. And then the bowl. I'm actually so happy to play this level because now I don't have to worry about the medals anymore and I can just play through it normally like I normally would. Honestly, what a relief. And relieving it was. This level was also really thrilling to go through, especially in the beginning where Sonic just gets the zoomies and flies past the entire section, which I mean, Don't mind if I do. After dodging the robots in the forest, we make it to the water section, and honestly, it's a whole lot easier than I thought it would be. I thought the lack of ring energy would be an issue, but there are so many rings spread out, it's impossible to run out if you know where you're going. Other than that, there isn't that much to discuss. I do some more platforming and running, and before I know it, I near the end of the stage. Once again, I pray to Jesus that I don't get sniped midair, and luckily my prayers are heard, and I finish the stage in one piece. Heading into the boss, it's once again a running boss, so not that much has changed from the others. I make sure to use QSS for my movement, so I'm able to save my ring energy for dealing damage, because I actually run out quite frequently in this fight. Fortunately, the boss goes down extremely easily, and we move on to the final area of the game. After sweeping Amy off her feet, we go say farewell to Professor Pickle. Despite the challenges and low points, I couldn't help but feel still really uncomfortable. Someone put this man on a list. Tornado Defense 2 once again provides no troubles for me, and also has no bearing on the challenge itself, so I'll be skipping over it. Is what I would say if Eggman didn't crash the party. He told us that he's gonna dip his milk into our cookies, and me being absolutely disgusted by this vulgar action, I asked Tails for some advice on what I should do, and this little shit tells me I should forgive him. I wasn't about to let this transgression slide, so I fire all the bullets I have into Eggman's face and finish the stage. It's time for the true test of our skill and everything we've learned throughout this challenge. The first Sonic section is no problem. There's a massive shortcut that you can take that skips over the entire section, which I eagerly take. The first Werehog section is where I started to run into a little bit of trouble. At first I was able to run past all of the enemies, but in hindsight I'm not sure if that would have been better to do that or fight to build my unleash meter, because the enemy gauntlet at the end of the section had me shitting my pants. For the first time, slapping them around on each other didn't immediately kill them, and the gunner bots kept shooting me, making me having to drop what I was holding and guard. I also was on the verge of death multiple times and had to run away screaming to go find some health. However, we do make it through to the next section. Once again, the Sonic portion doesn't prove much of an issue for me. I did get bodied a little bit near the beginning, but after that it was pretty smooth sailing through the bobsled part and getting to the next section. This was actually the easiest out of the 3 Werehog portions, as all of the combat encounters are optional. The only thing keeping me from progressing is honestly just my innate lack of skill. Oh, this section isn't even that hard. Why am I dying from non-combat related things? I swear I will actually crash out if I— What the fuck was that? What kept messing me up was the fact I don't have my usual aerial move that can speed up the tightrope sections or save myself, so I had to be extra precise with my jumps. After skipping the enemies, we make it to the next Sonic section. Again, it doesn't prove much of a challenge for me as I easily speed through it. While it is a little bit tougher, it's nothing I don't do on any regular playthrough. However, the end of this section is extremely important. You want to go off to the right and take this shortcut with these wall jumps. This skips a huge chunk of the final Werehog section, which we will desperately need. After sliding down Mario 64 style, we reach this room. This room is absolute hell. I have 2 attacks available to me for aerial combat. 2 slaps is all I have in the piggy bank. Because of that, it takes forever, and I have to be careful every time I land, or I will get my pepperonis wiggled by the fan. Luckily, by hitting the enemies enough times, they'll drop and actually take damage from the blades, so it did help in beating this part. Wish I could say the same for this fan. God damn, motherfucker! In this section, I went to go take the shortcut, but at the last second, I realized I didn't have my spinning needle attack, but somehow I just barely was able to make it to the platform. We slide down the tubes and reach my personal hell for the next 10 minutes. These wizards were the bane of my existence. I would have to kill them, obviously, but they would keep shocking me, but if I went to go kill them, then I couldn't see the Titan, and then the Titan would attack, and I couldn't see, and I would end up taking damage, and then I'd have to find some health and rinse and repeat for fucking ever! Luckily, I managed to beat it and move on to the final room. I open the door, and there's 2 of them?! This room made me want to cry myself to sleep. My usual strategy of throwing on my Nikes and running away from my problems no longer worked, and this room was the culmination of that. I'm almost done with this stage. I just gotta take care of this last enemy. All I have to do is get it down halfway and I can— No! My guard didn't! Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? I have to do this room all over— Wait. No. Don't you— Fuck! I have to do it all over again? After losing my mind and having to do both rooms again, I finally conquer the level with an S rank? I initially thought this boss would be a problem, but it was actually extremely easy. It takes a little bit longer than usual, and the robots that Eggman summons can be a little bit annoying, but other than that, it was super easy to take down despite my huge damage deficit. It is now time to face off against the giant tentacle monster. The Guy Colossus sections were an absolute joke, and the Sonic sections were actually no problem, even with my huge lack of ring energy. I just made sure to be careful because despite telling Dark Gaia I wasn't single, he kept trying to shoot his tentacles directly into my unprotected asshole. Eventually, I managed to hit the final blow to him, setting him right to his perfect form. This part went by pretty normal, which is honestly so refreshing that the last couple bosses I could just play through easily after the hell we just endured. But something felt weird. We get to Dark Gaia's shield, and Chip tells me he wants to sniff Dark Gaia. I tell him that's a stupid idea, but Chip just ignores me, and he penetrates right through his shield and takes a massive whiff. I didn't know what to say. All I could do was save my buddy from inhaling those toxic odors and release the shield, despite the camera fucking me over sometimes when trying to hit the tentacles. After doing some quicktime events and mashing the X button 60 times, we reached the final blow. Alright everyone, the moment we've been waiting for this whole challenge, the final blow, and done. It's done. We did it. And with that, the challenge was finally over. Surprisingly, it wasn't as difficult as I imagined it to be. There were still a lot of parts that ruffled my jimmies a bit, but it wasn't anything I couldn't handle. However, we finally reached our conclusion. The answer is yes. You can beat Sonic Unleashed without leveling up at all. I'm gonna sleep for a month now. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for more.